Like, obviously, you've been watching, right? We've seen all of these duos just kind of grow and evolve over the year. What are your
I mean, I want to see a repeat of what happened at the Invitational, just like a super intense, like,
back in Invitational, right? Kind of the first time we'd had a land like that, and now we're back, but the stakes feel so much higher. You talked to a bunch of players. What were they kind of feeling at that time?
I mean, everyone is always a little nervous before the tournament, but I think once they're in the battle bus, like, it's game time, and the stakes are really high. I mean, what, this is like the biggest prize pool since World Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like $1 million for the first place duo. That's a life-changing amount of money. So I think it's gonna be intense. It's gonna be insane.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Cypher, for those of you or them out there that don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about who you are? Because I want everyone in the world to know about you.
I mean, I am a very big Fortnite fan. I've been playing it since the very beginning. I was honored to be among the Icon series last year, and it's just, I'm still loving this game, and I'm super excited to see what you guys have cooked up for the last couple of months of this year, because it's looking crazy.
That's awesome. Cypher, where can all these new fans find you?
Cypher PK on pretty much any platform.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate it. We hope you enjoy the competition.
Thanks, y'all. Good luck out there.
Going crazy. That's right. Y'all can go crazy for Cypher PK. He's a legend. Y'all, this crowd is the best crowd I think we have ever had.
Yep.
And that's great, because we're going to see next level Fortnite. I don't know that I'm like prepared for what we're going to see this weekend.
I mean, I know the crowd already. I've seen a lot of cheering so far. There's a group over there. I think they're from Gentle Mates from the French region. They've been really hyped, and you can see them over there. There we go. I don't know if you can hear it, but yeah, they're really hyped. I'm excited to see all the other regions that are taking part today. All the fans. I'm feeling excited.
Listen, I know that the fans in the audience are ready, but I want to know if the players are ready.
True.
That's right. Well, we are not that far away, so you've gotten our thoughts. Why don't we get the thoughts of our casters as we draw ever closer to the competition?
Yeah, I must say, especially after watching the head-to-head interviews there, that I'm feeling so good, and I'm looking forward to, of course, the competition of the contention that we're going to see on the drops.
And what I love the most, too, is that it's one thing to know your drop spot, but for all of these representative regions, you have to keep in mind it's the international competition. It's the global championship. So just knowing your drop isn't good enough, because every region is going to have their own sort of flair for the competitive meta. And it's going to be a really interesting dynamic to see how some of these players choose to break into it, because even at the Invitational, where we last saw some international competition, one thing where I think some of the other regions in general might have struggled with was the surge strategy. So I want to see how well that's been wrapped up to be brought here today.
Well, we know a couple teams aren't going to have any surge issues. It's those that, of course, are competing against one another, especially Kanata. Let's just back up here and really touch base about the problems that he's going to face right now. Kanata and Agers are surely, two of NA's best, right? And they have a difficult task in front of them. Thomas HD, Malibuca, right? He's really honing in on the fact that he has been playing all weekend long, and he feels like Kanata's focus isn't quite there. Is that going to be the default in his playset?
And that's the false sense of security that Kanata's trying to implement into Thomas's brain right there, because at the end of the day, Kanata is a competitor. I mean, he is one of the few players that we have here that's actually got some of the most FNCS appearances.
Well, you know what? We've had a long roll to get here, and all of a sudden, we are closing in on it. So let's go ahead and dim the lights.
Fortnite fam. A year-long competition has led us here to Copenhagen. These players have fought through the FNCS gauntlet, 3 FNCS majors, and a last chance major, all to battle it out here on this stage. These players have put everything into this competition. 6 regions all going head-to-head to prove who's the best. But it's about so much more than just that. It's about holding the axe of champions high It's about hoisting a championship trophy, banking their share of $4 million. But above all else, it's about a title that comes with the highest prestige, FNCS Global Champions. After this weekend, one duo will break through and stand undeniably above the rest. So get ready. This is the FNCS Global Championship.
The stage is ready. The trophy is here. But you can't crown a champion if there are no contenders. Copenhagen Royal Arena, are you ready to meet the players? Let's bring them on.
They're gonna come to the stage right now, and of course, most importantly, it's the battle that they had to fight through to be here. Bullying their way through the Shockwave Hammer meta, one of the most destructive seasons.
They have to brace for chaos as these players now step into the most chaotic environment they have faced all year long. And with 196 total finals appearances spread amongst all of them, they are here to show exactly why they're the forerunners of their respective regions.
And you think about it, they had the first chances, the first opportunities put in front of them, and they did just that. They secured it, and here they are. Let's go, Copenhagen. Y'all went absolutely crazy for the players. That is what we are here for. We don't have this competition without them, so y'all definitely feel free to lose it when you guys see them come out on the stage. My gosh, that is just the qualifiers from Major number 1. There's so many big names. Thomas HD, though, Malabuka. We have eyes on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I heard a massive cheer.
Yeah.
And we're hearing it right now.
I wonder why.
I wonder who they're cheering for. Is it Thomas HD?
Yeah, I think
it might well be, because he is the Danish man himself. What a perfect player when you think about all of his attributes. So smart. His aim is next level. And of course, paired up with Malabuka. This is a dangerous duo. Only bad thing, contested today. But they have so much skill in this duo that they should be able to overcome the problem.
We've seen sometimes being contested can be a little bit beneficial.
Sure,
And we
sure.
saw them have an incredible performance in Major 1, getting second place and only losing by just a single
Yes.
point. They are the best team to have never won an FNCS, but I think that they may be changing that this weekend.
That would be so crazy, right? No FNCS title, but a global championship title? That would be next level. We talked about EU. How about we gone over to NA, Acorn, and Cold? I feel like so many players and fans alike talked about this duel when they won, saying this is probably one of the best duels in NA, period.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype around this duo when they performed in Major number 1, of course, coming out with a great performance. I like this duo. You sort of combine a really, really big brain IGL in Acorn and arguably one of the best fraggers in NA in Cold. This kid is crazy, and I'm expecting him to bring that dynamic. You can see them on the screen right now. They're looking happy, they're looking excited, and they should be because they're a top team.
And we saw what Cold can do on a LAN setting at the Invitational, getting a 3rd place finish with his his old duo mate Scented. And I mean, their placements outside of Major 1 was 6 in both Major 2 and Major 3. So even when they're doing their worst, it is still so vastly better than most of the competition.
Now, of course, that was a look at just the qualified players from Major number 1. We have 2 more to go. So please give a warm welcome for your qualified players from Major number 2.
The Kinetic Blade was the season. It was also the problem that they had to learn how to overcome, learn how to make theirs, and perform to the best of their capabilities because, my oh my, what a destructive time it was.
They really had to slice their way through the competition to qualify for globals. But more impressive still is the sheer amount of experience that this particular group of contenders carries with them. Considering 18 out of 24 of them have played on a LAN stage here before.
Can you imagine having that experience, bundling it all up and then putting it out right here in front of you where there is your chance to make the bulk of $4 million. We know who you're looking at. I know who I'm looking at. But most importantly, can they step up? Can they perform here now as the times and options are limited? There's only 5 games.
I mean, if that was it, right? If that was just the let's go, everyone's here, let's hit play, I believe that's a grand finals lobby. There's still more seats to be filled, but as we focus in on the qualifiers for Major number 2, Queasy, Benno. This stadium went crazy when they walked by that trophy. Some would say these are the villains of this arc, right? These are the guys that went up against Seti and Cammy and fell short. Now they want to come back. They want to come back even stronger than a year ago.
Yeah, definitely one of the best teams in EU. I think that's without doubt number 1, number 2, number 3, one of those 3, because these guys are absolutely incredible. We saw in Major number 2, 12 game grand finals, 6 victory royales. I don't understand how that's even possible. And then arguably the biggest upset when of course they didn't qualify to Major 3 grand finals. How does that affect their mentality going to this? Is this now a bit of a redemption for them? Not winning an invitational, not making Major 3 grand finals. What a better time to do it.
Listen, the whole adage, you know, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, or shame on you, or whatever. It may be something like that.
Not good at those.
They changed their drop spot at the Invitational, and it potentially cost them that 1st place spot. And then in Major 3, they changed their drop spot again and didn't even qual. So I think that they're going to be sticking to their guns and going Kenjutsu Crossing and potentially going to be coming out on top in day 1.
There are so many big names. We have to continue the conversation. Miro and Cooper now kind of focusing in on NA. Miro just ridiculously decorated.
Yeah, a really, really decorated player in the NA region. Won so many FNCS titles, paired up with a less experienced player. And this is a really nice storyline because you have the experience of Miro. He's actually not IGLing this duo. It's usually Cooper that takes that role. And he's actually saying, you know what? I'll take the reins. I'll use your experience when it comes to fragging because Miro's just one of the best in the world at that. And of course, he can lead the way, lead the tarps, and make sure they make their way to endgame. This is one of those duos that I'm really, really excited to see how they perform on LAN because both of them are very, very talented, but together, we're yet to see them in this stage.
No, but we did see them perform incredibly well in Major 2, getting a second place finish. And I think Rumble Ruins is a great POI for them, being in the center, being able to handle rotations, which seems to be a little bit of an issue for them in earlier seasons. So I'm excited to see. Miro, obviously, as you were saying, an incredible player, a 5-time FNCS champ. However, most of those wins were with his old duo mate, Bugha.
Absolutely. Well, we have one group of players left, so Arena, welcome them. This is your qualified players from Major number 3.
And as we all know, Fortnite is ever changing and evolving season to season. You never really know what you are going to get, but guess what? This team, these players had to go against the zero mobility when it was arguably so difficult.
And what they might have lacked in mobility, they certainly made up for as far as adaptability is concerned. Because having gone through every single iteration of competitive seasons, competitive metas, to find themselves here at the global stage, that is the embodiment of mental fortitude.
And really and truly, it's one of the hardest things to do is when it's your last chances, when it's your last opportunities to punch your way straight through to the biggest opportunity of your career. And it's time to put up those numbers. Can you do it? Surely all of our Major 3 qualifiers had to play with that pressure. They had to play with that knowingly, you know, a looming pressure of, hey, I can only do this one more time.
And again, considering what's at stake, considering that they want to go straight in to that finals lobby here on Sunday, this is their moment to siege it all.
That's right, there are no more chances up for grabs here other than the 5 that's put in front of them. You want to do it here and now. Will you be one of the first top 25 duos to punch through to Sunday? We'll find out.
I know you felt that. These are incredible players. This is 50 of the very best. The upper bracket all facing off today. You can feel it. The atmosphere is electric. It's not just this amazing crowd. It is every single one of these players. They all know what they have to do. Top 25 by the end of the day.
Yeah, this is it. This is our lobby. I mean, we haven't spoken about, in depth. How can we not? Bugha, the man himself. What a player, of course, the World Cup winner. How many times have we said World Cup winner? Does anyone need to be reminded at this stage? World Cup winner? No.
No.
No, not really.
Never. I mean, Bugha and Threats, I love this duo here. Bugha obviously having the history and the knowledge, with Threats having just some of the most insane aim in the game. Having these two powerhouses together definitely excites me. And what excites me even more is that they're landing Sanguine Suites, one of the new POIs, where they're gonna have those 2 mythic podiums, and it has absolutely insane amount of chests, ammo, and loot. So even though they're gonna be contested by Nutty, I don't think that's going to be too much of a concern for them.
Yeah, and I was speaking to Threats yesterday. I was saying, how are you going to approach that off spawn? He said, mate, there's so much loot at this drop spot. We're not too concerned about fighting each other off spawn, but we want that vault. They're going to be going for that vault every single game, so we'll see how it goes for them.
So insane. More duos to talk about. Iamzo and Rise, front runners from NA, a duo that all of us just feel and expect such greatness from them. Now the question becomes, how do they perform on LAN?
Yeah, the Canadian duo here, a lot of people had a lot of expectations for them going into Major 3. Donda's the best team in NA at that time. Didn't quite live up to that first place, but still managed to get a 3rd place overall. Lots and lots of hype around this team. We haven't seen them perform on LAN yet, so this is going to be a very, very big test for them. Will they live up to that hype? Will the weight lay on their shoulders a little bit and maybe put a little bit too much pressure on them? I'm not sure, but either way, they have the talent.
I mean, you're talking about 3rd place in Major 3, but I don't think that paints the full picture, because in Major 1, they also got a 3rd place. In Major 2, their worst performance was 4th. Yeah. They have the best placement between all 3 majors than anyone else here. And they're going to be landing in the gas station, which is a great split POI. So I think they might be the kings of NA for today.
What about the Kings of OCE? Could that be Worthy and Alex? I had an opportunity to meet Worthy, just a sweet guy.
Yeah.
But Alex is pretty widely regarded as the best player in OCE.
Yeah, 100%. Such a recognizable character in the OCE scene as well. And these guys definitely pack a punch as a duo. In Major 3 Grand Finals, Alex on his own had more eliminations than 33 teams had eliminations. So him as a solo is outperforming some duos, which is absolutely insane. A big thanks to Coach Timmy for that stat, because that is just showing how good these guys can be when they're on this big stage, when they're in those Grand Finals. They do not crumble under pressure.
I mean, I think that incredible power is showcasing also in Majors 1 and 2. He placed 5th and 3rd, but just him because this duo formed in Major 3. They might be actually the newest duo that we're going to be seeing compete here today. And they're going to be landing near that creaky compound where there are so many teams landing there. It's going to be interesting, to say the least.
To say the least, indeed. Now, of course, we only have 5 games here today. Pressure is on. With less games, you cannot make a mistake. How much does even just this going down to 5 games change everything?
I mean, it changed everything, particularly if you are contested. If you lose off spawn, that's a 5th of your games gone, where previously it was a little bit less than that. So you have to make the games count that you are contested off spawn. We talked about Malibuka and Thomas HD versus Aegis and Kanadas earlier. If those guys don't have a good game when they make it off spawn, there's no guarantees that you'll make the next one off spawn, so you have to make it count.
And we always talk about, you know, maybe they're a day 1 team, a day 2 team. Oh, they're going to have an opportunity after day 1 to VOD review and look. They're not going to have that opportunity. Essentially, these are like 3 separate tournaments each day. So these teams are going to have to do everything they can that day to get in that top 25 spot.
Yeah, I think when I think about more of these duos that we're going to see, right, Tayson and Mustache, another duo that kind of just jumps to the front of my mind. Tayson, I mean, if you asked any EU player, you just said the name Tayson, they'd be like, yep, I'm scared, I'm good, leave me alone. But also now paired up with Mustache. Where are these guys landing? What can we expect from them?
I mean, Tayson widely regarded as the GOAT of Fortnite. However, there's a big however.
Okay.
He's yet to do it on LAN. He's yet to do it on this massive stage. So a lot of people would say he's the online GOAT, which I agree with, 100%. He's won so many FNCS across different game modes, different chapters, whatever the meta, he is on top. But what a perfect time, what a perfect storyline for Tayson and Mustache to finally do it, to finally crown Tayson as an in-person winner, not just online.
Yeah, and we're talking about Tayson, but Mustache is also an incredible player in his own right. But there is a thing such as tournament jitters, and Tayson definitely seems to have an issue with that, being in front of all of these people, thousands of people on stage is a little bit different than playing at home in front of your own setup and everything. But I think with the right preparation, they've had a lot of opportunity to practice leading up into this, then maybe he can finally be the land GOAT we know he can be.
But how much of that, you kind of talk about being here in front of the crowd, even that one mistake, how much could that affect those mentals, right, Kelly? Because it's easy to say at home, I made a mistake, I'm out, okay, let me just get up, walk around, whatever. This is so very different.
I think it depends on the players and the team. When you have someone like Kanata, which if you guys haven't had the opportunity to watch the Major 3 playback of him, where essentially the entire time he's just screaming, Agers, Agers. I think having mentality like that, even when you're down, is such a big deal. And you'll hear a lot of these players, what's a big part of your success in winning this major, that major. And a lot of them will say keeping their head in the game, even when going down, just talking about what went wrong and moving on from it instead of dwelling on it.
So different. It's so different being in this environment. You're at a different desk. Everything's a little bit different. A chair potentially is a little bit different as well. So everything is almost alien to you from what you're used to. You can't just get up after a bad game, go have a cup of tea and relax in the living room. You have to stay in this area. And that's what can add to the pressure as well. You're in this area, you're in this zone. It's now or never. Can they do it?
I wanted to ask a question here. So obviously the bottom 25 move on to tomorrow, okay?
Yep.
So if you're one of these duos that find yourself in the bottom 25, let's say they've revealed some kind of strategy. Is that good? Is that bad going into lower bracket? Is there some kind of advantage or disadvantage to doing so?
As I said earlier, I don't think you should be aiming or hoping that you get in the lower bracket.
Right.
It's not something that you want. You want to be getting into the grand finals today, now. But if you do end up finding yourself in there, things could definitely change. I think tonight's going to be a very important night for these teams that are going to find themselves in that lower bracket, because there will be 25. And I think that's going to play a big part, because then they'll start to figure out where are we going to be dropping, where's our loot path going to go. We don't know.
I'm getting word. It's time. Now, as we prepare for this first game, you guys find your seats on the battle bus. I want to hear from our casters to prep us before game number 1.
Thank you so very much, Zeke. And yeah, find your seat on the battle bus. Find your seat in the arena here, because we are looking at a very contentious drop map. I know we focused in on a couple of those, head-to-head face-offs, but there are so many more battles happening today.
I think one perfect example we were just discussing was the whole Vico Pink. But hold that thought, because the battle bus has gone off, and we're ready to roll into game 1.
The FNCS Global Championship game number 1 starts right now. There is the bus. Now we get to jump off and really take to the world and see who will be able to put up all of the numbers that they are claiming that they are worth. Let's watch it. We get to start things off here, of course, with King and Cameron.
And keep in mind, we heard a little bit in the pre-game interviews, King, CalGamer, neither side particularly scared of the other. Both playing his best, but Thomas, he's taking the 50-50. It's Kanata, though, who's going to find the first down.
But it's a trade. It's a trade on both sides. Aegis is down as well. Kanata will have to do a big convert here or go head-to-head, toe-to-toe with Malabuka. Malabuka just has a singular build. He goes for the open exchange. And now Kanata's going for the push. Things are going to slow down. It's going to come down to everything. He gets the first tags. Can he get the follow-up here? Pressure's on. One more tag, and no! Kanata falls. Malabuka comes out on top.
Malabuka with the twin mag, but I don't think the pressure stopped just yet. He's taking a moment here, and that is massive. The reboot ban providing just enough coverage away from those pistol shots out of Kanata. And the first 50-50 will go EU's way.
And you can see that is the simple tactics coming into play. A little bit of high ground. All of a sudden, the leverage was thrown onto the other side. But here we have Nutty and Gabzer who are contesting Bugha and Threats here at the Sanguine Suite. This is a very tough battle to have to go against as well, because they too are going for a landing of 50-50, depending on, of course, what you pick up here. But so far, it does seem like Bugha has to play a little bit slow. I do not see his duo inside.
Threats seemingly already eliminated here, so Bugha will be forced to try and choose the proper moment to engage. Just gonna stay crouched for the time being, though. Again, keep in mind the amount of builds he actually has to work with. That Infiltrator Pump might be able to buy him a little bit of time as well, but it seems as though Bugha is investing fully into weaponry here, understanding he can't take that extra second to reload. He doesn't have a teammate to fall back on just in case. And as for Nutty and Gabzer, they seem to be just taking their time, actually prioritizing some of the loot inside of Sanguine.
Well, as one duo falls, another one rises up to the occasion. Here we have Yamzo and Rise looking pretty solid, getting their drops and their route together. So far, so good. Speaking about other things happening, though, I did see Baka, who is also contested up towards the northern portion of the map, get an exchange off there, too. And here we get to take a look in with Queasy and Vino down at the Kenjutsu crossing.
Yeah, way outside of the map, and the real curious question to ask here is how well exactly they're going to be able to manage some of that early surge, because being this far south at Kenjutsu, it's not exactly the easiest in terms of elevation, having to deal with some of those other teams surrounding you. Can maybe expect that Queasy might look to wait for Venom to continue scouting a little bit further in, maybe towards the bridge. We might see them looking to implement a little bit of surge strategy. And Sloppy Shores, Tayson, he's having to eat some damage as is, but has plenty of shields to work back with.
Oh yeah, we all know that this here is definitely a very popular exchange. Teams will often fight it out, as Sloppy Shores is one of the major POIs that will just yield so much additional heals, of course, that you can continue to play off of and bounce back from. Meanwhile, Mustache down low, continuing to get his material together. We're gonna jump on over to Datus and Stain here, looking pretty solid over at the Frenzy Fields. Just north of this, we also know that Acorn and Cold were equally contested somewhere near their drop. And look, they've wiped the team, and they're up towards the top right now.
You also have to keep in mind, though, Datus and Stain, guess who they're near at Frenzy? I mean, that's bound to be Seti and Cammy's turf. That's where Seti and Cammy have been establishing themselves the entire year just about. So curious to see whether or not those two will clash. It seems as though Seti has already been eliminated, and that's true. The fact that Stain and Datus were able to take care of them this early on is huge.
Yep, big trades happening here. Now we see Yuma getting tags in the distance too. Surge, of course, is going to be one of the equally most important things to worry about. Meanwhile, in the feed, Acorn has found himself an elimination too. These are all of the contested battles happening here. The drop map standing true exactly as we expected. Teams that were aware of teams that were going to land on them are definitely fighting for it.
And you can imagine the confidence boost, the momentum that some of these teams engaging in those 50-50s are bound to be looking for. And the best part about it is getting those eliminations so early on leaves you plenty of room to actually continue working on their pre-planned loop pathing. Not having to really worry about interference towards some of those rotations can make a big difference in positioning later on.
We'll talk about Acorn and Cole. Take a look here as they're moving out. They picked up their elimination. They're trying to see if they can single out the solo remaining, but nothing just yet. So not really getting greedy with the opportunity put in front of them, but instead banking that elimination. Remember, there's just 5 games, right? Only 5 games. You pop off in game number 1, and all of a sudden you're really set up for a potential just seal top 25 for today, right? The goal is get to grand finals.
I mean, just think about the amount of sheer splashes that Acorn just had available for himself. 12 slash splashes to work with is a huge amount. They can definitely take their time in terms of finding those ideal movements in case they need a little bit of that slap effect to work with. Thoric, meanwhile, continuing to seek out a chest that might be left over, splitting there with bolts. Seems to have an idea of maybe looking over towards one of these forecast towers, maybe also keeping an eye out for that reboot van in the distance as well, for anybody that gets some ideas early on.
Forecast tower is definitely extremely powerful. It's going to be one of the best pickups you can play for in the distance, though. Sun's also not making it easy for anyone rotating through the valleys here. Now we have Fastroki and Kylie down at the western, southernmost area of the map here, split up from his teammate, looking to hold out a potential King, maybe rotating down at the bottom. It could be Cal Gamer there, but no, it is King in duo. And they have danger nearby. They've already exchanged between the two. You can see the passive standoff here, but these are fights that are so important. These are fights that you need to, at the very least, entertain for now.
And as far as Kylie is concerned as well, a little bit of leverage there over King with some of that height, but seems as though King has spotted out that Kylie is just a little bit across the way from him. But transitioning back over to Pink and Vico. A lot of these players just seeming to take their time. As long as you have a twin mag assault rifle, it just doesn't really seem as though there's too much pressure to activate some surge strategies early on, but Pink here really sitting on some of the augments that he's gonna choose to actually prioritize.
Rolled up, looks like we got a little bit of a standoff here on the rotation on in. Hero in triple FHD. Pretty tough situation to be in. Tagged up here, forced to go ahead and bunker down, save for a second here. It's Ritual and Reet who have a bit of a high ground position here, looking down. Very nice spot to be in. Meanwhile, Giras and Shari also nearby, getting the pressure of the lobby here. Ritual and Reet can determine any team that they want to put the pressure on, and others are going to look inwards to see if they can jump in on it.
Barely hanging on right now, just inside the edge of this zone. And the way that it's breaking out for them just does not seem to be all that favorable. Just like for Snazy and Podesai, under quite a bit of pressure here. Snazy's gonna have to take some time now to actually try and regen some of that white HP, some of that shield as well. Not sure if he even has any members to work with, but Podesai, he's scouting the area, making sure that they're both still aware of what exactly is surrounding them just outside of Rumble Ruins.
You're looking here, the community rallying for Podesai here. But a very tough spot to be in halfway through the materials, but hold up. We get back to the fight here. Baka and Pars already had 2 eliminations, and another team is looking to influence them a little bit more as they were trying to get to the new safety. This next zone here, just a minute left before it starts to move again. They're in a pretty difficult spot here, digging deep into the trenches right now. NK Papa is holding it down here.
But again, this is a fight that you're expending time, you're expending some resources and build outside of the zone for both of these players, both of these teams. Well, I say teams, but NK Papa left as a solo defend for himself. Trapped at brutal fashion, essentially. Does not seem as though Pars and Baka want to let NK Papa go anytime soon. NK Papa already under too much pressure to deal with. Sharptooth just enough to take him out. An easy elimination in the 2 versus 1 scenario. But again, they're all the way at brutal. They still have to rotate into zone.
I just want to say, Pars was putting up a front in the back there, talking, hey man, you know, not too sure about the time zones. He's acting like he wasn't quite sharp and aware, but no, they are leading in eliminations right now, possibly picking out the competitors here today. So far, so good. Meanwhile, TWIS, QNDX, and Rapids already on the move here, trying to get situated. Queasy and Vino. Queasy actually hit the sniper shot to open this one up alongside Vino. Vino really set themselves up for success, so Surge looking well, but not good enough to really conclude the battle, so they're just gonna move on over. But for Queasy and Vino, I mean, they'd be surely excited to see Cammy and Seti not make it.
I mean, they have to be at this point, given that they're still in. They're still able to continue trying to accrue some points on the leaderboards. I know, taking his time right now with that suppressed sniper, seeing if he has an opportunity here, but instead, no, it's gonna be off in the distance. Trulix and Chicha have caught wind of Queasy and Veno on top of this hill, and that's not the surprise party that Veno was hoping for.
Yeah, let's not forget, Chicho and Trulix were definitely under some pressure here. So they're not sitting the prettiest when it comes down to overall material, but all in all, they do have the great positioning here on the top of this mountain. Yep, Queasy's gonna go and get on out of there. Picking up augments now as well, really trying to round out his advantage where possible. They're just gonna have to rotate to greener pastures.
Giving Queasy's loadout as well. That first assault definitely gonna come in handy when you've got a gold twin mag. Bonus damage, always a plus on that first shot. And the same thing as well for the first shotgun augment that he had rocking there with that gold Sharptooth. So you can definitely expect him, or expect that there's a reason why him and Veno are looking to try and find those bamboozle opportunities. Not too surprising though to see teams still trying to collect as much brick as possible here. Karmi and Vanyak definitely wanting to acquire just a few more builds, but understanding the fact that some of these teams starting to trickle in as zone continues to pull just further towards that mega city area. They're gonna have to be careful of the teams rotating from above them.
Yeah, and there are a couple late stragglers looking to make their way to the new zone. Meanwhile, Sphinx and Boyo sitting right above the Acorn and Cold here. Like the positioning so far. No reason to do anything too hasty just yet. Meanwhile, on the feed, Miro's taking his own damage to himself, possibly taking some fall damage, possibly being deep in the zone here, falling on a late rotate. Could be troubles on the horizon here. Not forget, Miro has all of the in-person experience. He has the FNCS titles under his belt, but his teammates pick it up. Let's watch those. Sphinx, look at the material count here. This is a desperate plea to get somewhere that he can replenish. So coming into the mega city comes with its own risk, but there it is. Refarming material is going to be the name of the game for them. Meanwhile, securing the island, Malabuka and Thomas HD. A huge, huge gain here if you, of course, can secure this. Worth 15 points. You are the first to Rift Island to go ahead and convert.
And it definitely seems as though Malabuka and Thomas are initially going to be successful. I'm not sure if these other teams that are looking to actually Rift them will have a chance to catch up in time. As Malabuka, Thomas, still holding down the capture point. You've got to be aware of the fact that there are bound to be some other teams. Maybe if they can't get the capture point, might still be looking for the vault that remains, but that is a free 15 points there for Malabuka.
What a bold statement to make. Thank you, Levin, for the insights there and the valuable insight of being able to really hear from their perspectives. But now we have Bugha. Oh, big tags coming in for Bugha. He doesn't have a teammate either. Threat's already down for the count here. He's below the surge. He's gonna have to do more here, Taco.
Bugha just looking so isolated right now. Bing and Gun just really taking their time to see whether or not they want to try and finalize on an elimination onto Bugha. Bugha definitely aware, definitely closing in, sees that brief moment of separation there between Gun and Ping and feels as though it might be his opportunity to strike, but Gun being certainly aware of the fact that they're gonna have Bugha trailing in behind them, and Bugha, he's trying to take the shots where he can. Gun having some difficulties getting those builds up behind him. That's gonna put them in a really rough position as both of these teams struggling to make it into zone.
For a second there, I thought he got the knock there.
Close.
Would have been a huge come up for him, but now he does have to move in. So just 97 above, he will recognize that, of course, he has to continue to fight and push his way through this. Meanwhile, Odesai finds an elimination onto Keeptos. And other trades happening there too. 7-man finding an elimination. And his teammate, Mshari, gets one as well. So Middle East finding their success tier 2. Let's jump on over to Miro. Miro, who picked up Okis just a bit ago. That's going to be the single Elam in the pocket there. And a long, long rotate now as they have to push all the way eastern here if he wants to get safe.
You can see Miro kind of just hoping that nobody's going to spot him out from Mega City, but for Miro and Cooper, all too easy pickings here. Onto poor Okis, trying to hold his own, but unfortunately, this pincer maneuver is one that we've seen time and time again from the likes of Miro and Cooper. Just a synchronized attack that is way too problematic for any solo to deal with.
Look at that, Alex and Worthy turns the corner, and Gon is waiting there from the outside of the zone, so we know Bugha is also close by. It's a very dangerous pocket to be in. I like that they're going out and around the edges here, but zone is already up to 2 ticks worth of damage for every time you sit in the zone there.
Alex and Worthy also have a little bit of an uphill adventure. Crash Pad's definitely gonna help out with that as far as just getting them some forward distance coverage, but again, you have to expect that there's a decent amount of teams that were kind of situated inside of Mega City. Those will be some of the front leaders as far as getting more towards that center of zone. Got a handful of teams trying to prioritize as things continue to pull further and further away from Mega City. And Hero, a nice little glide in, won't be interrupted there on the launch pad, but look at this, Lou, look at these builds. That is not the kind of loadout that you want to see this deep into the game.
Yeah, big commitment as well into the double metal fortress here to pick themselves up that low ground position. Meanwhile, Acorn and Cold just slide their way in, so big teams we're seeing here on the horizon. Tayson Mustache still alive. Malabuka and crew up top. Meanwhile, FHD Bahat opens the window and gets punished immediately. Looks like Hero's gonna have to leave his teammate down for the count potentially here now as he's going on in. Not worth sitting around here. Potentially has the team on the hunt. Yes, it is. Yuma right on his heels here. And Vino and Queasy jump in to finish the deal. So that's gonna be the huge refreshers for Vino and Queasy now.
But, you know, Queasy, they have so much space to work with. You can see some of the congestion that's starting to build on this bottom edge of the zone, but as far as Queasy and Men are concerned, they're definitely far enough above the damage threshold, 439 damage above. That heisted breacher as well for Queasy, depending on which direction they actually choose to tarp out in, could make some quick work of builds and lead for a great attack opportunity there.
Bugha's in a very tough position here, 172 damage below the surge threshold as the pressure continues to mount on top of his shoulders here. Already out of material now. This is an all or nothing situation. He hears a fight happening nearby. This is a couple of quick farms there, but he has to get into this one. This is truly all or nothing, but no! Bound, and he makes his way through the builds there and crushed.
That's just the unfortunate side effects of not having any builds of your own to work with. You're just breaking through everybody else's with the pickaxe, hoping that you're not gonna break through the wrong build, find somebody right behind you or right in front of you. Snazy and Podesai, though, follow on with them a little bit earlier on. We saw them initially in some pressure throughout some of that mid-game, but definitely managed to work through it. High ground, though, doesn't really seem to be too feasible for them from this position. It seems as though that's a little bit more in control over there with likes of Thomas Malabuka maybe looking to work their way up. Also saw Kylie doing a decent job, decent hill position there.
Yeah, really having to use these crash pads here to get on out now. It's time to make a move, but again, no one near them who's really going to give them any kind of resistance here. So it's going to be a quick slide on down the side here. As long as no one opens up the edit, they are fine. And Thomas and Malabuka with expert precision get right into position here to go and be set up for the first to make it to the new zone. Meanwhile, Pink finds Miro. He's down and out on high ground as well. Trulex and Chicho set up for success. So we're already looking at a very big game. Remember, with just 5 in front of us, a huge performance is really all it takes to give you the leg up, put you in the spot to walk away straight to Sunday and not have an early day of competition tomorrow.
But here's a little early glimpse into the leaderboard so far in match number 1. And Thomas, Malabuka, they seem to be leading the charge. And with Ping and Kyrie having just been freshly eliminated there, this is a moment. We saw Malabuka and Thomas looking to see as though they might try to work their way up through that secondary height layer. But as far as Merstash and Payson are concerned, they know they've got teams surrounding them every which way. Right now, it's about picking the right direction to go. And a lot of these teams trying to avoid some of the water that's just on the side of the zone.
NA just has a few teams alive. One of them, Baka and Pars. Cooper is up still, too. Meanwhile, Queasy and Vino, some of EU's best on the move right now. Crash Pads perfectly putting them in position right now. But Snazy and Podesai fall on this rotate here. A very tough time for them. Indeed, Queasy playing for high ground right now. This is what we love about Queasy, but no, someone's gonna shut that dream down. All the material commit there put to waste as now they've been crushed there, but here comes Vino to go in and reconnect, and high ground is theirs here.
King, meanwhile, on the opposite end of the spectrum, as a solo forced into the water, swimming through this ultimate low ground, hoping that he doesn't encounter anybody else anytime soon, but it's gonna be mixing off to his side, not able to connect the shot, swims directly underneath a duo, and it's gonna be an opportunity for Strokey to possibly get knocked. No, instead it's gonna be King under pressure, and it's too much. The elimination onto the Brazilian King.
Yeah, the comms come out, they say, wait, there's someone under here. Come down, support me, and with no hesitation, there was for Strokey and Kylie just coming on in, getting the full finish there. Here's Pars and Baka. Baka so hurt, but 6 eliminations, my gosh. They are doing it again. They did it at the Invitational. They're doing it at the championship so far. Remember, this is gonna be arguably the most difficult bracket to fight your way out of. It is, of course, the 50 best that played through their respective times of those seasons throughout this entire year.
But look up, it's Queasy, it's Veno. They get chopped momentarily by Merstash, but it's still not seeming to deter them from maintaining control of this high ground. Merstash now hoping that this legendary Slurp Juice is going to buy him enough time to get out of this difficult position that he's landed into with Payson and Cole. Meanwhile, backside of the zone, trying to charge his way forward, looking to stay as close to Acorn as possible, because as things continue to move, you can expect all these other duos to follow suit. And Alex gonna eat a shot immediately, a limb.
Meanwhile, high ground goes for a fight here. Merstash and Tayson trying to take it all away. They take down OCE's power. Alex as well there. Big find for him. But no, they have to conclude. They have to concede it. They give it down. Queasy puts up the fight against Tayson and puts him down as well. No material left for the high ground team. A very tough spot to be in, but it's all or nothing now. The end game is already theirs. This is surely a successful run already. Reet is still up too.
But they just need barely enough builds to actually connect it to the hill over this water where everyone else is trying to deal with it. Reet, though, alongside Ritual, everything in his power here, gets the elimination onto Acorn. It looks as though Queasy may have fallen in the feed as well.
What a big trade here. Just a couple players left now. This is it. Vino so low here, but he does have builds. The clutch is possible. He's also one of the healthiest here on the lobby. Vestroki doesn't have much to work with. He also can't get up and over. It's gonna come down to the siphon of whether or not he can get the conclusion, and Vino does. Get it here, finds Vestroki in the finish, and Vino wins the game.
This is starting to look pretty familiar, Monster. Queasy and Veno striking first in game number 1 of the Global Championship.
What a way to do it as well. Explosive fashion, in historic fashion. You know, they are a team that should be racking up wins, and they're doing just that. Lucky for us, we have Frankie there for the word.
Yes, I have run down to this booth. I knew exactly where you were sat, boys. This is exactly the start you were looking for. So stand up so Copenhagen can see you. Come on, Queasy. Veno, what's it like to win the first victory royale of the Global Championship? Because I know that Major 3 was a bit of a tough time for you.
It's standard for us, it's standard. You know, every year, we always go win first game. We always gotta have some victory royales. And, you know, we just gotta do what we gotta do.
Is it nice to be back in the same space on LAN together? Does that help in game?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, from last year, we came here to finish the story, and we'll see how it goes.
How are you making Season 4 work for you?
I think we're well prepared. We try to hide everything that we could, and we'll see in the finals.
So tell me about that final fight then, because it was an EU number. You know your opponents quite well. Why do you think you were able to get the upper hand?
I mean, you know, we had Thomas and Malabuga come up on high, and we put them down, thanks to Queasy and myself. And then, you know, I clutched out as a solo. You know, it's just standard, and I can't really say anything more, you know?
Well, you don't want to tell everyone in Copenhagen that you took down the Danish boy Thomas, so you're not scared that you're going to become a villain here?
You know, I think we came in on our villain arc. Funny, because we came second, you know? We want to show the rivalry's over.
But it's not, is it?
I mean, we'll see. I'm looking at them now.
Well, you guys fix your eyes on each other and get ready to board the battle bus again as we head back to the desk. Congratulations, Queasy and Vino.
Here we go. Global Championships kicks off. And what do we expect? Not quite this. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Queasy and Veno. To be honest, there were so many names, right? But of course, Queasy and Veno say, Zeke, hold on a minute. This is us. I love that he kind of calls out, we're on our villain arc. Yeah. I agree. I think these guys want and have so much to prove. In the year they've had, right? That second place to us is amazing. Wow, second place, life-changing amount of money. To them, it was a loss. Now they're coming back stronger than ever, and they want the W.
Yeah, these guys are winners, right? They see second as the same as 50th. It doesn't matter to them whether anyone else is taking that crown, because they want it to be them. They want to make sure they can do it, and I really, really like the way they played that end game. Beautiful stuff from them. Just typical Queasy Veno stuff. They're on high ground. They got to that front side of zone, cranked up, actually fell down at the beginning of that end game, which kind of threw them off a little bit, but no, they're used to that sort of situation, and that's exactly what they do best.
I do think that the zone pulled a little bit in their favor, but by zone 3, Queasy not only had a gold Twin Mag AR, a gold Sharp Tooth as well, 6 crash pads, but also had 2 mythic slurps. They were set for success from the get-go.
We see them, of course, get chopped right there. That was the moment that kind of set them a little bit away, but no. Taking out Malabuga right there, that breacher shotgun, as you mentioned, Kelly, so good on height, just putting the pressure down and actually using those crash pads. Of course, we saw Queasy going down a little bit earlier here, but I think if I'm Queasy, I'm going to be so confident having Veno on my side because, I mean, just look at that. That's what he can do. Massive shots. If there's anyone you want clutching up as a solo, it's Veno. He's got the aim. He's got the game sense. He has the mechanics. And of course, he's such a smart player. Just look at what it means to them. Getting off to a great start. What a start for them. They couldn't have wanted anything different.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we have seen so much about this duo is it really doesn't matter what situation they get put in. A lot of times we do kind of see this happen. One or the other is left alive, but what both do together is they're setting the other up. So it's like, even if one of us falls, it doesn't matter. I've set you up. You have everything you need. Go make something happen. Now, of course, in this situation, Final 3, Veno's like, got you right where I want you.
Yeah, the players that they were going up against too were incredible players, and so still to be able to do that as a solo player like Vino just did just shows how confident and calm he can be, but also very excited too. But I mean, if we're talking about Queasy and Vino, we gotta talk about the other side of the coin, right? Seti and Cammy going down early, just like Levin showed us.
Yeah, really rough start for those guys. A start they definitely wouldn't have wanted. I was saying at the beginning of the show, they were practicing their drop spots, they were looking good, but unfortunately things can change. Bus paths can change, of course. The environments can change. You never know what can happen. And of course, when you're fighting against a team that isn't on your home region, usually things can be different. Teams have different play styles that you cannot possibly prepare for. So if there's anything we know about Cammy and Seti, when they do make it off spawn, I'm sure in the next games in the future, they'll be absolutely fine. It's just getting to that end game for them might be a problem.
Yeah, and this is just the first game, right? Obviously, with only 5, which is usually the typical 6, we don't want to be making mistakes like this, but they still have 4 more to make something happen. Now, of course, a couple other duos we wanted to highlight for you guys, Thomas HD and Malabuka. Again, like, as we talk about names, you're just going to be like, yeah, nah, I forgot about them. I mean, I know they're here. The top 8 is great, but looking to perform here as well, and a pretty good showing in game number 1.
Yeah, not a bad showing at all. I mean, we saw it in game in the first little off-spawn battle right there. What a time to do it. What a way to kick off the weekend, right? Thomas HD managing to win out off-spawn. It wasn't even Thomas, actually, that clutched it up. It was, of course, Malabuka who managed to pick up this assault rifle off-spawn. Really, really great for him, actually, because he just found that little bit of high ground there at the end. I really like the way he used the reboot ban to block as much shots as possible. And then this little hut, managing to find that high ground and then finally take out Canada. What a start for this duo. And we know how the rest of the game went. Solid game for them as well.
Although it did go down to a 1v1, and I think a lot of people may have been expecting Malabuka and Thomas HD to kind of just take it so soundedly, and I think that they might be taking it a little bit easier in these next few games just because of how close it was. You saw Kanata trying to grab height right there, and you were right that Malabuka was able to use that reboot van to his advantage, but if Kanata just got a little bit closer, a little bit sooner, it could have been a bit of a disaster for Malabuka.
Can't forget, of course, they had that Rift Island as well. Of course, it was a South Link zone. They know where the spawns are just outside of that racetrack area. There's not actually too many spawns down in that sort of southeast area, so they were actually able to sort of predict where it was going to be, and they managed to get on there uncontested completely. Nobody wants
plays and eliminations as well. I mean, I'm just proud to see him evolve as a player.
It was really difficult down those lower layers as well. Remember that end zone? It was all over water. It was an absolute mess. I saw King there just swimming
like
through.
A shark.
Like a shark down below, trying
crazy.
to scoop up some loot. Of course, he ended up getting taken out, but those are the difficult times. If you don't have those materials, you don't have those refreshes. When you have the fragging power of Re, that's where those refreshes come into play, because you need those builds in that water zone.
Some would say those refreshes. Anyway, let's go back to the leaderboard.
Let's talk about more. Just Zeke things.
It's a Zeke thing.
Another duo we kind of highlighted at the start of the show in 6th place. You can see Cold and Acorn, right? They did manage to find themselves the 5 eliminations, but they're maybe lacking a little bit on those placements. Now, I feel like for me, rather than kind of like go through all these duos and kind of talk about everybody, I kind of want to talk about what we saw in that game. Mad congested, right? There was, toward the end game, almost no one had materials, right? Everyone's doing the same thing. We are trying to go on the defensive. We don't want to make a mistake here in game number 1.
Well, that's due to the fact that this is a low mobility meta. Besides the rocket ramps of these players, instead of being able to kind of just use these mobility items to rotate around the map, they're going to have to tarp up. They're going to have to protect themselves as they rotate all the way to that far southeastern side. So it does kind of benefit the teams that are closer there, or the teams. We did see a few players using rocket rams in there, or at least having them in their loadout just in case. But this is going to be a difficult meta. It did start in Major 3, so a lot of these players are already used to it, but still, utilizing your mats when you can is definitely going to be a big part.
And you mentioned them there, Acorn and Cold in 6th place. They made it to that end game because of their off-spawn. And initially, we were thinking, right, these guys have been contesting Pink and Vico. That's been the storyline for the whole time. But it seems like they actually switched drop here, and they actually ended up going towards iDrop and Mappy in that sort of central area where all those caravans are. They actually switched their drop. Last minute, they thought, yeah, let's just try and land on this team, and it worked out for them. So that just shows how those little decisions like that, switching the drop spot at the last moment, can make a big difference.
And it did make a big difference. We saw earlier on in the game that Acorn and Cold had 12 splashes on just one player. And again, using those rotations, that's pretty much one of the only mobility items in the game besides the launch pads and then, of course, the mini crash pads as well. I mean, they definitely seem to have used that change in drop spot, which isn't something we typically see on this caliber, really well. And another team that I want to talk about just by the leaderboard that we saw is Thomas HD and Malabuka. You can see through their placement points that they didn't get that many placement points, but the 15 points from the Rift Island made up the difference.
Those mid-match objectives will make or break some duos. Now, at the start of the show, we talked about Tayson, the online GOAT, looking to make that LAN title kind of all-encompassing, just GOAT status, paired up with Merstash after this game, right? This was a pretty decent start, right? And again, like, we have to kind of be mindful that, remember, there's 6 regions, it's just game 1, there's a lot of jitters. After game 2, what can we see them adapt or change that might make this game 2 crazier for them?
I mean, we saw them go for height there. We saw them pre-popping those slurves. You see it at this moment right here. Merstash just trying to look up at Queasy and Veno to go for that high ground. Tayson, unfortunately, getting taken out. So, of course, this was a difficult situation for them. Didn't quite have the builds to make it happen. And that can be the problem. If you're cranking up on that backside of zone, you're expending so many materials. And if you're going up against a great height team like Queasy and Veno, that's where things can get difficult. But a really great start from this duo. Of course, landing at the north side of Slappy Shores. We saw them getting those surge tags really, really early. Massive base that they seemingly build every single game they go there. All those extra heals, it got them to that end game. And they just need to keep that consistency, because if they keep it up, they're going to do good.
And I think what helped them too is that they were holding second high or in that mid ground really well, where a lot of people, a lot of the top teams were kind of fighting for that high ground, or they were in the depths of the water below. So by being aware, situationally aware of where all the other teams are and taking that advantageous position in the mid ground definitely helped them.
For sure. Now, of course, that crazy moment in the victory royale was wild, but we have the ability to listen in on the players. So let's relive this moment, but from Veno's perspective.
Dead. Nice. Dead. 200 dead. I got it. I'm coming up. I have siphon. Crash betting. I'm rocket, okay? Oh yeah, I'm dead probably. I'm dead. Top four, all duos. Land on, nice. Corner. Nice. I'm stacked. Yeah. 2v2. Or two, one solo and a duo. Top three. You have Madness. Play Madness top 2. Play Madness top 2. Trust. I'll let you know if he gets knocked. I got him. I knocked him. Yeah. 1v1. You're good.
That's kind of nuts, right? I love that Veno is able to just focus, right? It's just about, just let me rock my mechanics, right? Just tell me where to look, tell me what to do, and then just let me execute upon that. Queasy just
so calm, right? He's like obviously there is a bit of chaos in the moment, but Queasy just listen, just grab this. You're fine. Trust, you've got this.
And that's such a skill as well. I feel like not many people talk about it. When you are down and your teammate is solo clutching like that, the comms that you give are so vital. You can see Queasy just making sure that he is giving the absolute perfect comms, what he needs to know. Maybe he might have missed something. Maybe it's his heals. Maybe it's his materials. But Vamonoss like, okay, let me cook. Just give me the ingredients that I need.
And part of the reason he cooked there was that rocket ram, using it to go straight up into the air, see where the rest of the remaining lobby is, land down immediately and get that incredible shot. That's why we're seeing them in first place right now. 93 points to start off the day. A pretty decent lead relative to the rest of the lobby here.
And, you know, I don't want to say necessarily bravery, but to use that rock ram in that situation almost is like... It's risky, right? Mad, high risk, high reward, but for him, he makes it work. Here's a look at our top 20 duos as it stands just after game number 1. Remember, 4 more to go. We had highlighted Cooper and Mira, though, in there in the 16th place at the top of the show, as well as Alex and Worthy. Or is there maybe a duo standing on these top 20 that stand out to you guys?
I think for me, it's Gripey and Flixie. These guys land at Mega City, so you would maybe expect them to have a little bit of a better game right there, sat in 19th place. When the zone does pull towards you, especially at Mega City, you can just sit on those towers, on those buildings, and try and farm Storm Surge. I think they might have struggled with that a little bit because, of course, so many teams are rotating in, but it might be a little bit too late. You almost need to rotate out, get that Storm Surge, try and get back on that high ground at the right moment. And from what I've seen from those guys, they're doing that so well previously. Maybe a few spanners in the works have been a little bit more difficult for them because they needed to try and find those refreshes, and that water zone definitely didn't help either.
I mean, I was looking at the top of that page 2 right there, and Alex and Worthy representing the OCE region a good job after game number 1 there. And I know that a lot of people tend to think that these competitions are going to be, you know, oh, EU and then maybe NA, but a lot of these, you know, smaller regions showing up right from the get-go.
And it's about making a statement in this first day, right? Remember, first 5, top 25 go on to grand finals on Sunday. So the job's not done, but it's about making those statements. It's about saying, regardless of what we do, if you see us in grand finals, you know what to expect from us.
Yeah, and I think you saw that in the reaction from Queasy and Benno, right? They were hyped, like they were happy. You got to be happy at winning first game of day 1 of the Global Championships, but they weren't too happy. They didn't let their emotions get the better of them. They were very, very cool, calm, collected in that interview. And I think that's absolutely vital for them because they know it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, and speaking of a marathon, we saw Baka kind of going on a marathon throughout that game right there, grabbing so many eliminations. And part of that definitely has to be to that mythic MK7 that he had there. He was 600 damage above Storm Surge in the middle of the game. And by having that on your pocket, it's definitely going to be, you know, a bit more of a confidence boost leading into the end game.
Okay, so we've highlighted some duos. We talked about what we liked. What did we maybe not like out of this first game? Are there things we're kind of hoping to see change going into these next 4? Because remember, this is it. You want to end the day in top 25.
Yeah, I think I want to see less water in the end zone next game. How about that? Can we get a little less water, please? I want to see low ground teams start to do good. I want to see Omzo rise. I want to see them starting to play their way through the mid and low ground layers. So, yeah, a little bit less water, Kelly. I think, what about you?
And I always just prefer to see the zone change in different spots. I think that really makes or breaks